One of my earliest memories is when I was 5 years old. We lived in a big white two-story house, and they built a hospital back behind our house. And I remember looking out there at nighttime and watching the security guard drive by with a big spotlight on the side of the driver's side door, checking the inside of the building and stuff. Well, my older sister and I went down there one day. It must have been on the weekend because it was daylight, but there was no workmen around. And we walked in, and the whole side of this hospital was open on this side. There was no bricks, there was no glass or anything. When you first walked in onto the concrete, you're in a hallway. And there's studs everywhere, metal studs. But over here, there was sheetrock up on both sides of a hallway. And Elaine and I started walking down this hallway. And my shoulder, I leaned against the wall and let the sheetrock slide by my arm. And the deeper we got, the darker it got. And my scraping was causing a noise, and Elaine was trying to listen for any kind of movement out there. So she said, stop that, stop that. So I quit. But I missed that tingling sensation in my arm. So in just a few minutes, I was back leaning against the wall as we're walking. We got way, way deep inside this place. And I remember we found a bunch of nickels, plug nickels, from the electrical boxes. And we were picking them up, said, look, the nickels. And Elaine said, those are not nickels. I said, I know, but maybe they'll still take them. Mine, I'm a 5-year-old. Anyway, we got pretty deep in there, and we decided to turn and go back. And all you can see is way down there, we'll see the light, because there's no wall down there. And I was walking, leaning against the wall as I was walking. And I didn't see the doorway. There was no door frame. There was no door. There was just an opening. And I didn't see the opening. And when I hit that opening, I stumbled into the wall. But actually, I stumbled through the doorway. I caught my balance. And I looked back, and all I saw was sheetrock. Because I was on the other side of the wall. I didn't see Elaine. I looked, I saw daylight, and I took off running as fast as I could. And when I got to that hallway that was in front, so I ran past that wall, the very end of the wall. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Elaine. She was 3 steps in front of me, and she was hollering. Probably what she heard was I was over there. I made a noise. She looked, and I was gone. That's what I figured. Anyway, we had moved from there because they made this, they was going to make this area into a parking lot. So they were going to tear down this house or move it. And so we had to move. I know it was the spring of 1958 because my youngest brother had not been born yet. And Howard had been born. And I know it was the springtime because the magnolia trees were in bloom. And they bloom in the spring. We moved from there to another house, a single-story house. It was a long house, and there was a road out front, and there's a driveway here, and you'd park at the end of the house. Other side of the driveway, kind of behind the house, we had a wash machine. Had those old ringers on top. You stick your clothes in, and it'd wring the clothes out, get the water out. I remember one of my sisters, I don't remember which one, probably Elaine, got her finger in it, and it pulled her arm in there, and she's screaming bloody murder. I would imagine that had to hurt. It would hurt nowadays. But somebody she was probably 7 at this age, this time, and because I was 6, and it just pulled her in deeper and deeper, and finally somebody unplugged it, and they did something to the top of the ringer, turned it, whatever little bar up there, then they undone the side and lifted it up. I don't know, I think they took her to the hospital to make sure she didn't have no broken arm. I don't remember. I just know that she was gone for a little while. The driveway was here, and there were some mobile homes long ways along the little dirt road or gravel road. No, it was dirt road. And Mom was real friendly with the guy in the second mobile home. Real friendly. I'd go there sometimes and she's laying on the couch and they're talking. But I've gone there a few times, knock on the door, and she wasn't there or no answer. And I remember looking at the other mobile homes down the dirt road. I thought she went in here, but there was no answer. A couple of years before my dad passed away, I told him I believed that she was having an affair with a guy in the second mobile home. He said she was. That's the reason he left, because she was having an affair with that guy in the second mobile home. And I believe he was telling the truth. Because, see, I didn't tell Dad. That's the house we were living in when the social services took us to the orphanage. And it makes sense that he left because she was having an affair. Now, my dad was good looking. For those of you who don't know my dad, he was good looking. I've seen pictures of him kind of like the Fonz, wearing a white t-shirt with the cigarettes rolled up in the sleeve, hair all slicked back. Well, the Fonz is here. Well, my dad was here because he looked like the Fonz, but he could play the guitar and sing, and the Fonz could. Now, on happy days, the Fonz could snap his fingers and get soda pop out of a machine, but the dad couldn't do that. But he could sing. I remember coming back home from school, and some kid ran up to me and told me the cops were at my house. And I got behind the little weed. It was springtime. Tim was just a couple months old. Got behind a little weed, because this was I guess a farm, because they had rows where they had plowed. But it was springtime. Still had old weeds in there. And I was hiding behind this little weed, looking down at the house, and the cops out front. And I remember looking down this road here, these houses, and I thought, there's no place to go. I have to go home. Because I had no place. I didn't know anybody over here. I had to go home. No choice. And I don't know if it was that day or another day that social services picked us up and took us to the orphanage. Now, the first place we went to was a big white 2-story building. It may have been a doctor's office. I'm not sure. I think we got shots there. So I'm pretty sure it's probably a doctor's office. And I saw a kid on this machine. Had a huge front tire and 2 little bitty tires in the back. And this kid sitting up on this thing. And I couldn't figure out how he could stay up there without falling off. Of course, he was hanging on the handlebars of the tricycle. I had never seen a tricycle. And we got our shots, and then they took us to an orphanage. It was a big monstrosity. Brick siding. We were in the lobby. Elaine was sitting over there holding Tim. And I was hiding behind a rubber tree plant there in the lobby. I was hidden. Now my sister could see me because they was towards the side. But the people behind the desk, they couldn't see me. I know they could. Now I know they could. Back then, I thought I was hidden. And they took us in. It must have been the first day. Bunch of boys about the same size, same age, walking down the hallway. We was to the left side of the hallway, and the instructor or teacher or whatever walked through a door across the hall. Well, I started talking to the kid in front. Nobody talked to me. I talked to the kid behind me, and we started talking a little bit. Well, later on that afternoon, the instructor or teacher told this boy that I had been talking to go to his room. You were talking in the hall. He pointed his finger at me and said he was talking too. And she said, "Go to your room." So he went to his room because he was fixing to watch cartoons. Now, when you're 6 years old, cartoons is a big deal. I mean, a real big deal. I remember it was two birds talking. Heckle and Jekyll comes to mind, but I don't know where that memory comes from. But it seemed like it was somebody named Heckle and Jekyll. Probably the bird's name, I don't know. But I don't know if it's the first night or the second night of when. I went to my room, and when you open the door, my bunk was here to this wall, and there was another bunk against the far wall below a window. A woman walked in. Me and the boy had been talking. She walked in, pulled the covers back, whipped me, and I guess one of them whipped him because he was screaming. And they never said a word. They just pulled the covers off, whipped us, and turned around and walked out. And the next morning I realized you can't talk in the hallway because you won't get to watch cartoons. You can't talk when you go to bed because you won't get a whipping. So I was learning the rules without being told the rules. I remember I was in the playground, and they had a chain link fence around different yards, big playgrounds. And there was a playground I was in, chain link fence, another playground, chain link fence, and another playground, and these girls were playing. And they were laughing, kicking the ball and stuff. And I was looking, trying to find one of my sisters. And I was looking and looking and looking. And I knew the only way I was going to recognize them if I saw them in the face. Because they were all wearing the same type of clothes. School uniforms, or orphanage uniforms. And when I noticed they were all wearing the same type of clothes, I looked down at myself, turned around and looked at the boys behind me, and my heart sunk because I knew if my sister was over there, chances are she would not recognize me because all of us boys were dressed alike. I don't know how long we were in the orphanage, but I remember somebody picked us up and took us to Aunt Annabelle's house. Now, it might have been Aunt Annabelle and Uncle Marvin. I don't know. It may be in the orphanage. I don't know. But we went to my great Aunt Annabelle's and Uncle Marvin's. And it was Christmas time. Christmas time. Yeah, I hadn't realized till just now that we were in there. Let's see, I was 6. I was 7 years old. Because Tim was already been born. He was a few months old when they took us. And so we were in the orphanage for, I guess, about 9 months. Because we was at Aunt Annabelle's for Christmas. I'm sorry, this memories is just the dates. I'm trying to get the dates set for you people. Because I know I got a lot of cousins out there want to know this stuff. Especially Eddie Pearl, Aunt Gladys's daughter. She expressed here recently she wanted to sit down and talk. That's the reason I'm doing this video. So it's not just her hearing it, but any of my cousins want to hear it, or any of them want to hear it. But so we must have been in an orphanage for at least 9 months, 8 or 9 months. And at Aunt Annabelle's, she fixed us waffles in the morning. I had never had waffles. And you got the waffles, and she got this creamy peanut butter, because they didn't have crunchy or chunky peanut butter back in those days. Not that I know of anyway. And you put peanut butter on the waffle, in the little holes. Then you pour syrup over it. And that's how I eat them today. Pancakes, regular butter, syrup. Waffles, peanut butter, and syrup. My wife and I, we were in Atlanta, Georgia, several years ago. And we went to a Waffle House, and I got waffles. And I asked if they had any peanut butter. They said, no, like I was nuts or something. So I tried regular butter and syrup. It ain't worth eating, as far as I'm concerned. It just ain't worth eating. Anyway, I remember I got a little helicopter. It had a spool of twine in there that was spring fed or spring rode. Had a little pull ring, and you pull the string out, and the spring inside would wind it back up again. And a little gear would turn. I set my little helicopter up there, and I pulled it, and the helicopter took off. We were down the street about a block. I pulled it and went up and down. One of my sisters tried to catch it. It hit her in the head and broke the little plastic propeller. So it flew one time. And I thought, I love that thing. Had it one time, one flight. But then we went back to the orphanage. And from there we went into the foster homes. The first foster home that we went to, it was Elaine and I were in it. They had a little blonde-haired girl. I think it was their daughter, and she could play the piano and sing. And a little boy with brown skin. Seemed like he was from India, but he might have been from Mexico. I don't know, but he had tannish skin, and apparently he had polio, because he had a real thick leather belt around his waist, attached to some metal braces on both sides of his legs. And the metal braces went into the heels of the shoes, right there by the heel. I remember that. They had a swimming pool in the backyard, and that's where Elaine and I learned how to swim. She could dive down to the bottom, touch the drain, swim to the shallow end, touch the bottom step, turn around, swim back, touch the drain, and come back up. I could dive off the diving board, touch the drain, swim over, touch that bottom step, swim back, and sometimes I could make it underneath the rope that was halfway, as far as I could make it. Sometimes I couldn't make it quite that far. There at that orphanage, they took us to Disneyland. I remember the roller coaster. It was real high as it went up. It topped over it and started down. And as it started down, my butt started leaving the bottom of the seat. And all of a sudden, we pushed back in the seat as we went out over the water, turned around. I remember I got a pencil with a eraser of Goofy. I think it was Goofy with the big ears. And Elaine got one with Mickey Mouse with the big long ears. And we got a helium balloon. I know I had a helium balloon. Because we go back to the house, I need to go in and use the bathroom. And I was told not to take the balloon inside the house. So I stuck it underneath the lounge, pool lounge. Went in, used the bathroom, come out, tried to get my balloon, it was gone. So I started looking across the yard. Where is this thing? Then I thought, wait a minute. It wouldn't be on the ground. It'd be up in the air. I looked up. There it was. There goes my balloon. And I love that thing. Well, I know we went to a place called Marineland. Saw a real live mermaid. I know it was a mermaid because she didn't have no legs, no feet. I know. It's a costume. And she grabbed this thing, breathed, put it back, and there's air bubbling out of it. Saw a submarine there. Went into the submarine from what I remember. Small thing. We went to another place you don't hardly ever hear about. Knox Berry's farm. I don't remember a lot about Knox Berry's farm except they had a goat. And this goat would hit this piece of plywood. make the plywood lay down. He'd walk across the plywood. It was spring loaded. As soon as he got off the plywood, it would spring back up. On the back side he hit, it was drawn like the farmer was bent over. His blue jeans, his butt, everything. And the goat was hitting him in the butt, knocking him down, walking over him. The front, it made it look like he had a hat on. He's holding this tray in front of him. And when the board's laid down, food fell out of this tray. It popped back up. The goat come over there and eat some of that grain or whatever it was that fell out of that tray. Walk around the gate, come back around and hit it again. So it's feeding itself. I was never around goats very much. Being raised on the farm by Andrew being on Q, we didn't have goats. I'll tell you a story about a goat over there in Germany. The medics on post had a goat for a mascot. Why did they need a goat for a mascot? Why do they need a mascot? I don't know. They had a goat. And I go by there every once in a while, and I would push against its horns, and it's pushing against me. And whenever you push against a goat, his whole body gets into it. I mean, he leans forward, his legs are back, and he's pushing. Instantly. I mean, as soon as you start pushing, he gets into it. Well, I got down on my hands and knees, put my head against his horns, and we were pushing. And he goes, pow. Hurt like a son of a gun. I had 2 red marks up here on my forehead. It only happened one time. How do you do that more with a goat? Oh, gosh. I'll talk to y'all later.